Hey there, so here we are towards the end of this chapter, and in this video I am going to talk about some of the very important questions in your chapter life processes. So this video will be a long video, but I can say that this video will prove worth it to you. If you solve all these questions and write all these questions, or take a screenshot rather and save them for your future use, you will find these question and answers very important and very useful during your examinations. So at first I will be looking at some NCERT questions, because CBSE treats NCERT as its base in terms of making question and answers in your board exams. So let's start this journey. The first set of questions is on page number 95 of your NCERT science book, and it says, why is diffusion insufficient to meet the oxygen requirements of multicellular organisms like human beings? So this is a very dynamic question, and I have dealt with this question in one of my previous videos. You may go and watch that video if you like full explanatory. Since only a limited number of cells are in direct contact with the environment, diffusion process is insufficient to meet the oxygen requirements of the whole body. Also, all the major organs that too require oxygen for proper functioning are secured inside the body. So to provide them with oxygen, separate respiratory system are required. So the next question is, what criteria do we use to decide whether something is alive or not? So walking, breathing, growth and other visible changes can be used to determine whether something is alive or dead. However, some living beings will have changes that are not visible to our eye. Hence, presence of life processes is a fundamental criteria to decide whether something is alive or not. So our next question is, what are outside raw materials used for by an organism? So this question basically asks you that why does an organism has the need to use outside raw materials? So the answer goes like this. Outside raw materials are used by organisms as food and oxygen. Raw material requirement varies on the complexity of the organism and the environment it is living in. So next question, what processes would you consider essential for maintaining life? So here you will know that you have to list all the major life processes like excretion, transportation, circulation, digestion. So the next set of questions is on page number 101 on your NCERT, and it goes like this. What are the differences between autotrophic and heterotrophic nutrients? Okay, so autotrophic organisms prepare their own food and are not dependent on any other organism, while heterotrophic organisms does not prepare their own food and depend on other organisms for food. Food is prepared from carbon dioxide, water and sunlight in autotrophic nutrition, while in heterotrophic nutrition food cannot be prepared. Autotrophic nutrition, chlorophyll is required for preparation, while chlorophyll is not required for food preparation in heterotrophic nutrition. Green plants and certain bacteria have autotrophic mode of nutrition, while all the other animals and fungi, most bacteria have heterotrophic mode of nutrition. And we'll head on to the next question. Where do plants get each of the raw materials required for photosynthesis? Plants require these following nutrients or raw materials: carbon dioxide, which it gets from the environment, sunlight, which it gets from the sun, some nutrients, and water and minerals, which it gets from the roots. So our next question is, what is the role of acid in our stomach? So I have dealt with this question in detail in my first video, so you may check out that video. Now our stomach or digestive glands release HCl, hydrochloric acid, to prepare an acidic medium for pepsin to work. Also it kills existing bacteria in your food. So the next question is, what is the function of digestive enzymes? So the function of digestive enzyme is to fasten the process of digestion and make it easier and more efficient. How is the small intestine designed to absorb digested food? Small intestine has small projections called villi, which increase the surface area, which makes absorption more effective. These are also lined with blood capillaries, which readily absorb all the nutrients lying in the food. So the next question is, What advantage over an aquatic organism does a terrestrial organism have with regard to obtaining oxygen for respiration? So I have told you earlier in my videos that the dissolved oxygen content in water is fairly low enough as compared to the environment or the atmosphere. So fishes or aquatic organisms have to fasten their breathing rates to accommodate their oxygen requirements. So our next question: what are the efficient ways or different ways in which glucose is oxidized to provide energy in various organisms? Now again, this question requires remembering of this flow chart and then your English skills. So our next question: how is oxygen and carbon dioxide transported in human beings? So this is an important question, I would say. Oxygen and carbon dioxide are transported via the bloodstream. Oxygen is transported by hemoglobin, which has high affinity towards oxygen. Carbon dioxide is more soluble in water and hence is mostly transported in dissolved form in blood. So our next question is: how are lungs designed in human beings to maximize the area for exchange of gases? So the lungs is an important part of the body. The passage inside the lungs divides into smaller and smaller tubes, which finally terminates in balloon-like structures called as alveoli. The alveoli provide a surface area where the exchange of gases can take place. The walls of the alveoli usually contain an extensive network of blood vessels called capillaries. The lungs always contain a residual volume of air so that there is sufficient time for oxygen to be absorbed and carbon dioxide to be released. So our next question: what are the components of the transport system in human beings? What are the functions of these components? So these are the components: heart, blood vessels and blood. The heart is our pumping organ. It is made up of cardiac muscles, which are very powerful enough muscles. Blood vessels are tube-like structures which help in transporting blood throughout the body. Now you have to describe blood in a very brief detail here. It depends on the marking scheme of the question. If the question is of 3 marks, you may describe it in short. If the question is of 5 marks, you may have to describe it in long. So blood has red blood cells, white blood cells and platelets, which I have discussed in my videos in my playlist, so you may watch that. So our next question: why is it necessary to separate oxygenated and deoxygenated blood? Mammals and birds are warm-blooded animals which keep their body temperature constant irrespective of the environment they live. This process requires a lot of oxygen for more cellular respiration so that warm-blooded animals produce more energy. Hence it is very important for warm-blooded animals to separate oxygenated and deoxygenated blood to keep their circulatory system efficient. So our next question: what are the components of the transportation system in highly organized plants? So we know it is xylem and phloem. Xylem conducts water with some minerals and phloem conducts food in soluble form. So our next question is: how are water and minerals transported in plants? So this is the answer. You may take a screenshot, or if you want full explanation, you may watch this video, Transportation in Plant. How is food transported in plants? So we know that food is transported in plants by a special organ called phloem. Phloem transports food material from leaves to different parts of the plant. Food is transported from leaves to phloem by the expenditure of ATP in the form of energy. This increases the osmotic pressure in the tissue, causing water to move from xylem into phloem. This pressure moves material in phloem to the tissues with less pressure. This helps the plant in transportation of food materials as per the needs. Now you may also watch this video if you want explanation with some animations. So our next question is on page number 112, and it says describe the structure and functioning of nephrons. So in this you will have to draw a diagram, a detailed diagram of nephron, which I have discussed in this video. But for the sake of this video, I'll show you the answer. So nephrons consist of renal artery, renal vein, a bunch of capillaries called glomerulus, Bowman's capsule, renal tubule, loop of Henle and a collecting duct. Functioning of nephrons is as follows. Renal artery comes with blood full of nitrogenous waste which enters the glomerulus. All impurities are taken up by Bowman's capsule. Substances such as amino acids, glucose and salts are selectively reabsorbed and unwanted molecules are added in the urine. The filtrate then moves down into the loop of Henle, where more water is again reabsorbed. From here the infiltrate moves upwards into the distal tubule and finally to the collecting duct. Collecting duct collects urine from many nephrons. So the next question goes like this. What are the methods used by plants to get rid of excretory products? So in my earlier video I have told you that you must remember at least 3 points through which plants excrete their waste. So plants can get rid of excess water by transpiration. For other wastes, plants use the fact that many of their tissues consist of dead cells and that they can even lose some parts such as leaves. Many plant waste products are stored in cellular vacuoles like xylem and phloem. Waste products may be stored in leaves that eventually fall off from the plant. Other waste products are stored as resins and gums, especially in old xylem. Plant also excretes some waste substance into the soil around them. So the next question is, how is the amount of urine produced in our body regulated? So it basically asks you to describe reabsorption. Amount of urine produced depends on the amount of excess water and dissolved waste present in the body. So the larger amount of water present in your body, the less the reabsorption will occur. Or if you have less water in your body, your capillaries will absorb most of the water from your urine. Also it depends on the amount of waste you have produced. So if you have produced a lot of waste, then some water will be required to move that waste through the nephron. So the set of next questions is on page number 118 and these are MCQs. So the kidneys in human beings are a part of the system for excretion. The xylem in plants are responsible for transportation of water obviously. The autotrophic mode of nutrition requires all of the above. The breakdown of pyruvate to give carbon dioxide, water and energy takes place in cytoplasm. So now come detailed questions. So this goes like this. How are fats digested in our bodies? Where does this process takes place? This answer is made long using my English skills, but the answer has only two major points, which are fats are emulsified using bile salts present in bile secreted by liver. Then pancreatic lipase converts that into fatty acids and glycerol. So the next question is, what is the role of saliva in the digestion of food? So again, answer made long using English skills, but the main point of the answer is saliva converts starch into simple sugars using salivary amylase present in saliva. What are the necessary conditions for autotrophic nutrition and what are its byproducts? So necessary conditions: carbon dioxide and sunlight from environment, water, minerals and some nutrients from the soil, chlorophyll in the leaves, byproducts of photosynthesis, food in the form of glucose, water molecules and oxygen. So our next question is, what are the differences between aerobic and anaerobic respiration? Name some organisms that use the anaerobic mode of respiration. So aerobic respiration takes place in the presence of free oxygen and the other process takes place in the absence of free oxygen. The products of aerobic respiration are CO2, water and energy, and the products of anaerobic respiration are ethyl alcohol or alcohol, carbon dioxide and a little energy. Complete oxidation of glucose takes place in aerobic while glucose molecules are incompletely broken down in anaerobic. Energy is released in large amounts as compared to anaerobic respiration in aerobic respiration, while anaerobic respiration takes place in lower organisms like yeasts, some bacteria and tapeworms. So the next question is, how are alveoli designed to maximize the exchange of gases? So the answer of this question basically depends on the marking scheme of this question. If the question is of 3 marks, you give a short note, or if the question is of 5 marks, then you use your English skills obviously. So the lung is an important part of our body. the passage inside the lungs divide into smaller and smaller tubes, which finally terminate into balloon-like structures called alveoli. The alveoli provide a surface area, or they increase the surface area of absorption where the exchange of gases can take place. The walls of alveoli usually contain an extensive network of blood vessels. The blood brings the essential carbon dioxide from the rest of the body and supplies it to the alveoli. The oxygen in the air that is taken up by the body is diffused into the blood, and the carbon dioxide is diffused into the alveoli, and when we breathe out, that carbon dioxide is released with our breath. So our next question is, what would be the consequences of a deficiency of hemoglobin in our bodies? Hemoglobin is a red colored pigment, and the red color is due to iron. And what disease do you face in lack of iron? Yes, anemia, lack of energy. So the final answer would be anemia is the disease caused by lack of hemoglobin or lack of iron. Okay, so our next question is, describe double circulation in human beings. Why is it necessary? So double circulation, I have discussed this point in my video, so you may go and check out that video. Double circulation means in a single cycle blood goes towards the heart twice. This process helps in separating oxygen and deoxygenated blood to maintain a constant body temperature and also to increase the efficiency of our circulatory system. Double circulation in human beings consists of two parts: pulmonary circulation and systemic circulation. Pulmonary circulation happens when blood goes from the heart towards the lungs to acquire oxygen from the lungs, and systemic circulation happens when that blood goes from the heart throughout the body to distribute that oxygen throughout the body. So the next question is, what are the differences between xylem and phloem? I have discussed these three differences in my previous video. You may go and check that. Transport of materials in xylem. Xylem tissue helps in the transport of water and minerals. Water is transported upwards from roots to all other plant parts. Transport of minerals in phloem. Phloem tissue helps in transport of food. Food is transported in both upward and downward directions. Also, transport in xylem occurs in supervision of basically physical forces, while in phloem, transport of foods require energy in the form of ATP. This is a major difference between xylem and phloem. So our next question is, compare the functioning of alveoli in the lungs and nephrons in the kidneys with respect to their structure and functioning. So alveoli and structure. Alveoli are tiny balloon-like structures present inside the lungs. The walls of the alveoli are 1 cell thick, and it contains an extensive network of capillaries to absorb oxygen. Nephrons structure. Nephrons are tubular structures present inside the kidneys. Nephrons are made of glomerulus, Bowman's capsule, and a long renal tubule which finally joins the collecting duct. Now the function of alveoli. The exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide takes place between the blood of capillaries that surround the alveoli and the gases present in the alveoli. Alveoli are the site of gaseous exchange. Function of nephron. The blood enters the kidneys through the renal artery. The blood is entered here, and the nitrogenous waste in the form of urine is collected by the glomerulus or the Bowman's capsule. The Bowman's capsule then transfers that urine into the collecting duct. Nephrons are the basic filtration unit. So now comes extra questions. So here are some one-word questions, then I will start with short answer and then with long answers. So the first question starts with, which is the universal source of energy in all cells? Yes, it is ATP. If no apparent work is being done by an organism, why does it take food? So the answer is to carry out life processes, growth, reproduction, and for repair of worn out tissues it carries out or it takes food from the environment. Which pathway is common to both aerobic and anaerobic respiration? So this table will tell you glycolysis is the common path which occurs in cytoplasm, conversion of glucose into pyruvate. What would be the consequences of deficiency of hemoglobin in our bodies? So the answer is anemia as dealt before. Name mode of nutrition in the following organisms: fungi and amoeba. Fungi carries on saprophytic nutrition and amoeba carries on animal-like nutrition, or which we call holozoic nutrition. What is peristalsis? Rhythmic contraction and relaxation of alimentary canal to push the food forward is called peristalsis. What is the role of cartilaginous rings on trachea? They prevent the collapsing of trachea when there is no air present in it. Name the type of blood vessels which carry blood from organs to the heart. So these are called veins. What is the meaning of variegated leaves? So variegated leaves means leaf with some green parts and some non-green parts. So it basically means some leaves which have yellow or different colored patches on them. Define the term translocation, or transportation of soluble form of food in plants is called translocation through phloem, obviously. Why is respiration considered an exothermic process? So exothermic processes are processes which release heat or release energy in any form. So respiration is considered as an exothermic process due to breaking down of glucose or food in the presence of oxygen, which releases tremendous amounts of energy. What is breathing? The mechanism by which organisms intake oxygen from the environment and release carbon dioxide is called breathing. Now breathing and respiration are two different concepts, you must know this. Mention two ways in which food gets oxidized in organisms. So it is anaerobic respiration and aerobic respiration. What role do digestive enzymes play in the alimentary canal? Digestive enzymes break down complex molecules of food into simpler ones so that they can be absorbed by blood. Which enzyme is present in human saliva? Salivary amylase. What are the end products of photosynthesis? Glucose, oxygen and water. So give any one example of variegated leaves. It is a money plant. What is lymph? How is it different from blood? Blood is pumped throughout the body by heart, while lymph is moved along throughout the normal function of the body. Blood transports oxygen throughout the body, while lymph removes waste from the system. Blood flows through the body in a circular motion, while the motion of lymph is in a single direction. Blood contains red blood cells, white blood cells and platelets, while lymph is a light yellow and clear liquid. Differentiate between saprophytic and parasitic nutrition. So saprophytic organisms take or feed on dead and decaying organic matter in the form of food, while parasitic organisms live on or inside other organisms and derive their food from them without killing them. Saprophytic nutrition does not depend on living host, while on parasitic it causes harm to the organism. Examples of saprophytic are fungi and bacteria, while other are lice, tapeworm and leech. How do plants exchange gases? Plants exchange gases through stomata. List two factors which decide direction of diffusion of oxygen and carbon dioxide. Environmental conditions and requirement of the plants decide direction of diffusion of oxygen and carbon dioxide. How is respiration different in plants and in animals? So respiration in plants occurs through stomata, lenticels, roots, etc., while in animals it occurs through lungs. Respiration in plants releases oxygen as a waste, while it releases carbon dioxide as a waste in animals. Plants produce glucose and oxygen on their own to carry out respirations, while animals get glucose and oxygen from the outside environment to carry out respiration. Why do we feel cramps in our muscle cells after vigorous exercise? So the answer is simple: due to the production of lactic acid in our muscle cells and due to anaerobic respiration occurring in our muscle cells in the lack of oxygen. What is the role of acid and mucus in stomach? So the role of acid is already explained and the role of mucus is explained in this video, and I will explain here too. Mucus is present to prevent inner lining of stomach from the action of acid. Which digestive secretion does not contain any enzyme but is important? Discuss. Bile juice from liver It contains bile salts, not bile enzymes, which are necessary for emulsification of fats. Differentiate between auricles and ventricles. Auricles are upper thin-walled, less muscular chambers, while ventricles are lower thick-walled and muscular chambers. Auricles receive blood from veins, while ventricles receive blood from auricles. Auricles push blood into the ventricles, while ventricles push blood into the arteries. What is the role of valves in veins? They prevent the backflow of blood, especially when it moves against gravity and under low blood pressure. How is the small intestine designed to absorb digested food? Walls of small intestine has finger-like projections called villi to increase surface area. The food is absorbed by villi and brought into blood. Why are arteries thick-walled and elastic? Arteries receive the blood pumped by heart with lots of pressure. Hence, to tolerate and sustain the pressure, they are thick-walled and elastic. Differentiate between arteries and veins. So arteries carry blood away from the heart while veins transport blood towards the heart. They have thick and flexible walls to endure blood pressure, while veins have thinner and less elastic walls. Arteries do not have walls, while veins have walls. Arteries carry oxygenated blood and veins carry deoxygenated blood. Differentiate between respiration and breathing. So respiration is a biochemical process while breathing is totally a physical process. Oxygen reacts with food to provide energy in respiration, while only exchange of gases takes place while breathing. Energy is released in respiration while no energy is released in breathing. Occurs in cytoplasm and mitochondria respiration, while breathing occurs in respiratory organs. Write a balanced equation for photosynthesis. This is a very important equation in terms of chemistry and in terms of biology too. Name the enzyme present in saliva. What is its role? Salivary amylase is present in our saliva and its role is to break down starch into simple sugars. How does nutrition take place in amoeba? How is it different from that of paramecium? So it captures food by its pseudopodia, which are extended finger-like structures. Now the food is enclosed in cell membrane and that enclosure is called food vacuole. The food is broken down with enzymes present in cytoplasm and undigested food is thrown out through the cell membrane. And nutrition in paramecium, the cell has definite shape and food is taken in at specific spot. So paramecium cannot take food from any of the directions. It has a specific spot, like we have a mouth. Paramecium has a specific spot. Food is moved into this spot by movement of cilia. So cilia are hair-like structures present at that spot. And then the food is digested and thrown out of the body. Discuss how the roles of vena cava and pulmonary veins are different from each other. So pulmonary vein carries oxygenated blood from lungs to the left auricle of the heart in humans. Vena cava collects deoxygenated blood from throughout the body and transports it to right auricle of the heart in humans. Why is it advisable to breathe through nose? There are fine hair and mucus glands in the inner lining of nose, which help in filtering the incoming air of germs and dust. Define transpiration. How does transpiration help in upward movement of water from roots to leaves? So now, until now, you must have got an idea how CBSE tends to ask questions. So transpiration is the process of removal of water vapor from the aerial parts of the plant, mainly through stomata. Transpiration provides a suction pull for water from xylem into other parts of the plant, or namely leaves. So describe the structure of human heart. So I have described the structure of human heart in detail in this video. Human heart is four-chambered. The two upper chambers are called auricles and they receive blood from large veins, while two lower chambers are called ventricles. The right half and the left half of the heart is divided by a muscular tissue called septum. Name the respiratory pigment in human beings. What is its role? So the respiratory pigment in human beings is hemoglobin. It is a red colored pigment which is due to iron, and it is the carrier of oxygen. It carries oxygen throughout the body. What are enzymes? Do they play some role in our digestive system? Enzymes are biocatalysts which help in fastening the process of digestion. What is the role of large intestine? Water reabsorption occurs through villi. Undigested food is stored in rectum, which is a part of the large intestine. So the major function of large intestine is to reabsorb water. Why are ventricles thick-walled and muscular? Since ventricles have to pump blood throughout the body and to the lungs, so they are thick-walled and pretty muscular. How is the length of intestine related to food habits in animals? So herbivores have longer intestines than carnivores because it is difficult to digest cellulose present in plants. And it is relatively easier to digest meat or the products that carnivorous animals eat. So they have smaller intestine relative to herbivores. Differentiate between photosynthesis and respiration. So respiration occurs in all living cells while photosynthesis occurs in only autotrophs. Oxygen reacts with food and energy is released, while in photosynthesis carbon dioxide and water combine to form starch and water in the presence of light. Respiration occurs in cytoplasm and mitochondria, while photosynthesis occurs in chloroplast of the leaves. What is residual volume in our lungs? What is its importance? Residence volume is the amount of air which is always left inside the lungs in spite of forceful exhalation. It helps in continuous gas exchange during exhalation or inhalation. Show direction of flow of lymph with the help of a flow diagram. So lymph flows in this way from arteries or capillaries into tissues and then into lymph vessels and then into veins. Why is the rate of breathing in aquatic animals has to be faster than that in terrestrial animals? So this is an earlier discussed question, so we will not discuss this. You know what to do, just skip back to the question and note down the answer. What are the raw materials for photosynthesis? How are they obtained by a plant? What is the sequence of steps in photosynthesis? How is it different in deserts plant and those in temperate regions? So the sequence is as follows: absorption of light energy by chlorophyll, conversion of light energy into chemical energy and splitting of water molecules into hydrogen and oxygen, reduction of carbon dioxide to carbohydrates. Desert plants take up carbon dioxide at night and prepare an intermediate which is acted upon by the energy absorbed by chlorophyll during the sunlight. So this concludes that these processes may not occur simultaneously or in the same order. What is the composition of urine? Are glucose and proteins normally present in urine? Why? How is the volume of urine regulated? So the urine contains mainly water, various salts, urea and uric acid. No, glucose and proteins are normally not present in urine, as glucose are reabsorbed by nephron while proteins are not filtered from blood. Volume of urine is regulated by the amount of excess water present in our body and the amount of dissolved waste in the blood. What are the important features of all respiratory structures in animals? Or this question can be asked this way too: how are alveoli designed to maximize the exchange of gases? All respiratory systems have some important features. The number one is large surface area, thin and delicate surface for diffusion and exchange of gases. It is generally located in protected inner part of the body. Rich blood supply to respiratory organ. Since all of them are present in alveoli, hence it is perfectly designed for gaseous exchange. So our next question is, what is excretion? Name some parts in our body involved in this process. So excretion means throwing out metabolic waste from living body. Many organs perform this process, such as kidneys remove nitrogenous waste like urea and uric acid in urine. sweat and oil by oil glands in our skin, carbon dioxide and water vapor by lungs, feces or undigested food by large intestine, bile pigments by liver. It also converts toxic ammonia into urea. Our next question is, what is the need to have transport system in complex organisms? So the transport system of an animal moves substances to where they are needed in the body. Even the smallest animal must have the means of transporting substances around its body. Oxygen and food molecules must be moved to all the cells, and the waste products must be removed from the cells and expelled into the environment. It occurs through diffusion mainly. In a multicellular organism, all cells are not in contact with the surrounding. Hence, diffusion will be insufficient for it. A variety of fluid systems called vascular systems help such transport in most members of the animal kingdom. So let's head on to our next question. Explain how the air is inhaled during breathing in humans. So this asks you the mechanism of inhalation. The diaphragm and rib muscles contract, which makes the throat move upward and outwards. The volume inside the thoracic cavity increases, it expands. Air pressure inside the thoracic cavity or the lungs decreases. Thus, air from outside rushes into the lungs and alveoli through nostrils, trachea and bronchi. So next question. Okay, so this is a activity based question, and it says, if a plant is kept covered with a polythene sheet, we notice some water droplets on the inner side of the sheet after some time. What are they due to? Name and define the process. What is the significance of this process in plants and in nature? How does transpiration help in upward movement of water from roots to leaves? So you know that this question has given you some sort of answer also in the last part. The last part says, how does transpiration help in? So you must get an idea that the answer of this question whole lies in transpiration. So we notice some water drops on the inner side of the sheet after some time due to transpiration. The loss of water in the form of vapor from the aerial parts of the plant is known as transpiration. This process helps in the absorption and upward movement of water and minerals dissolved in it from roots to the leaves. It also helps in temperature regulation for the plant. So our next question. Leaves of a healthy potted plant were coated with Vaseline to block the stomata. Will this plant remain healthy for long? State 3 reasons for your answer. So with this question you must get an idea how CBSE tends to ask questions, and this is also an activity based question, so you will have to run the horses of your mind. No, the plant will not stay healthy for a long time. The reasons are, it will not be able to exchange oxygen and carbon dioxide, hence respiration will be affected adversely. So yes, this point is important. Photosynthesis will also be affected as carbon dioxide will not be able to reach the plant. Transpiration will not take place, hence there will be no ascent of sap, that means transport of water, hence no water absorption from the soil. So our next question has 4 parts. Mention any 2 components of blood. Trace the movement of oxygenated blood in the body. Write the function of valves present in between atria and ventricles. Atria and atrium are the same thing. Write one structural difference between the composition of artery and vein. So the answer of first section goes like this. Plasma blood cells like white blood cells, red blood cells and platelets. So you may write any of these. The answer of the second part is from lungs to pulmonary vein to left auricle to left ventricle and then to aorta, then to the whole body. So the answer of the next section is valves prevent backflow of blood from ventricles to atria when latter are contracting. So it means that there are valves present between atrium and ventricle. When blood enters from atrium to ventricle, those valves open up, and when ventricle contracts to send that blood elsewhere than the atrium valves close up so that the blood goes into the right direction. Arteries have thick muscular and elastic walls. Veins have thin, less muscular walls but have walls. So our next question is, describe double circulation in human beings. Name the group of animals with double circulation. How is it important for them? So such a flow in which blood enters the heart twice is called double circulation. It helps in keeping the oxygenated and deoxygenated blood separate from each other to maintain the efficiency of the system. The right atrium receives blood from the vena cava throughout the body and pumps the blood into right ventricle. Blood is sent to lungs where it is oxygenated. Then it is sent through the left pulmonary veins to the left atrium, where it is pumped to the left ventricle. The blood then travels to the ascending aorta, where it leaves the heart and delivers oxygen and nutrients throughout the body. Birds and mammals are the group of animals which have double circulation because they need to maintain a constant body temperature. Now you may also make this diagram because biology is all about diagrams. So this diagram in this question is very important. I hope by now the structure and the way CBSE tends to ask questions is very clear to you. I have listed almost all possible questions CBSE could list you in your examinations. But still, if you think that I have missed some of the very important questions, you can let me know in the comment section below. And I am very sorry to not listing that questions in this list. Also, if you want me to explain any of the concepts, any of the questions listed above, you can also let me know in the comment section below. And as told earlier, CBSE question makers are even more clever than we think. So they can come up with extremely new questions. So you will have to be very well prepared for those questions. And the best way you could do this is by watching videos online. Obviously you can watch my videos and then going through NCERT, because as told earlier, NCERT is the base and CBSE has no right to give questions outside from NCERT. If you mug up NCERT, well, you do not need to mug up NCERT because science is something which requires understanding. If you understand all of the concepts of NCERT, you will be able to answer all the questions that CBSE could make. So be prepared. Watch this video again if you missed some question, and I have a whole playlist dedicated to this chapter, life processes, so you may go and watch that. The capability of CBSE question makers can be judged by the following analogy. CBSE can take one concept, like one topic, and then make 10 questions out of the same topic asking the same thing, but the structure of the answer they would ask is different. Also, diagrams. This chapter has tons of diagrams and you need to memorize almost all of the diagrams that are listed in this chapter, and understanding the concepts of this chapter makes easier through flowcharts. Yes, like this flowchart of glycolysis or respiration and this flowchart of digestion. So making flowcharts make things easier, and you can obviously make flowcharts yourself. Diagrams like human respiration and the structure of human respiration, the structure of human digestion, structure of nephrons, structure of stomata are very important diagrams, so you must go through them at least once before examinations. Okay, so diagrams are important and the functioning of those diagrams are also very important, like the structure of heart as a diagram, and it has a functioning also, like left auricle, right auricle pumps blood into the ventricles and then ventricles pump that blood into the bloodstream. Also like nephron has a structure and a functioning too, so you must simultaneously go through the structures and the functioning. This will make things easier. Believe me, I used the same things. So from here we have finally ended our chapter or our series on this chapter, life processes. And remember, life processes is one of the most important chapters as told earlier in the whole NCERT book. So going through this chapter is very important while revision. And as always, thanks for watching. Thumbs up if you liked it, sub if you loved it. This is Sahil Singh. You're watching Why, When and How To, and I'll catch you in the next one.